Hello and welcome back to Madmousegames. Today we're going to be painting this miniature here, which is a construct from the Reaper Bones 5 core set. So here's another view of it with a really nice bright light on it. You can see there's a lot of scratches on this miniature and a lot of kind of, not really plate armor, but just plates of metal kind of stuck together. So I started by base coating everything a nice red color. I did it in a dark red so that I could work my way up from there by layering. And this miniature was pretty fun to paint. Overall, make sure when you're doing a base coat, you're always using as big a brush as possible so you can cover surface area quickly and get through it faster. I did have to go over most of this red 2 times to get a solid base coat out of it, but overall it wasn't too shabby. Now, with this miniature, the way I wanted to paint it, it kind of reminds me of Iron Man, somewhat like the Hulkbuster suit that he has. And so I decided I was going to paint it red with kind of gold trim and highlights, and then with the armor, the underneath armor, I wanted to paint it a silver color so that it wasn't quite the same as Iron Man, but just a little bit of an homage to him. So painting the little like symbols that are on him and some of the other little trims, they were going to be gold. So I painted them here with kind of a brown so I'd know which parts are going to be finished as red and which parts are going to be finished as gold, so that I didn't do too much work trying to highlight these areas that were just going to end up gold anyways. So after I finished doing that, I decided to start doing my highlights. So I just went over the darker red color with lighter and lighter reds until eventually it made a nice smooth gradient up to a nice red, which eventually I would make into almost an orangey yellow. And I thought that ended up looking really cool. Now, one thing I wanted to do with this guy was not a whole lot of orange on parts that weren't scratched, but I did do quite a bit of the orange around the face to really make it pop, especially around where his eyes are at and kind of his cheekbones. So that was one section I really focused on making it pop, and I think that it's good to do that on most miniatures, is having the face as kind of the focal point. That's something I've been learning the more I go is, you know, it might be nice if the cloak looks really good, but if the face doesn't look that great, then even if the cloak looks nice, it just doesn't work as well. And so painting the face really nice, making sure it's got a lot of smooth gradients and that it really works well, can bring a piece to the next level. Here you can see me doing a little bit of an edge highlight kind of between the plates of armor and along the side of it, and just doing this edge highlight really lets the recesses seem darker than they actually are, but keeps the gradient of the paint looking really nice. And so just a little bit of an edge highlight here with a real light red. And I didn't want it to be too bright because later I wanted to come back in and really make those scratches pop. I wanted the focus of this miniature to kind of be the face, the shield, the little gem that's on his sword, and the scratches that are kind of in the armor. I wanted it to really look like he had been worn down through years of battles or even a couple of big battles, and really making those little areas pop out. And that was one thing I really wanted to practice, was making kind of scratches on armor, and I figured this would be the perfect piece to do it because there's actually some modeled scratches on it already. And so we'll get to the scratches here shortly, but in the meantime you can see me here just doing more of a edge highlight with a nice light red to really make that armor pop. So here you can see me adding kind of the scratches. What I decided to do was to go into all the scratches and first make a little bit of a black line in there in the deepest section. Now I did the black first because I wanted to be able to come and put other layers on top of it so that the black didn't seem as big, and kind of just went really like that would be the center, deepest part of the scratches. And a couple of times you can see here where I'll get a little bit of paint outside of the scratches where I wanted it, and if you just go over it real quick with your finger, I found that that can wipe off that paint immediately, and you don't have to go back through and cover it up later, which was pretty helpful. But adding all these black lines, even without the rest of the detail to the scratches, I thought ended up looking really good. But I had plans to make the scratches look even cooler, which we'll get to in just a second. So the next part of doing the scratches was to do this line here, which I decided to do as kind of a really light red mixed with a little bit of orange. And this gave kind of the impression that the armor there had been kind of bent in down toward the scratch itself. And it also gave it a really nice edge highlight that was even lighter than the actual edge highlighting of the metal, which made it look different and really made those scratches pop out. Now, I kind of had a 3-step process for finishing these scratches. So number one was this, doing the really light red mixed with a little bit of orange around basically the entire scratch on the top and on the bottom. The next thing that I did was I came in with a real light orange that you can see here. It's almost yellow, but not quite. I didn't want to go all the way yellow, but just a little bit of yellow in there. And I did that on just the top of the scratch. And there's a couple of spots where the scratches are really close together, and I did it on the kind of in between the two scratches to really make it pop that it's two different scratches. And this ended up giving a really nice look. And then here on kind of the breastplate where you can see me doing it, I actually only did it not along either the top or the bottom, but just on the part of the armor that juts out the most, to kind of make it feel like that part of the armor was even more beat up. And this ended up giving a really nice look to these scratches. And it was something I hadn't tried before, but that I thought ended up looking really good. It's still basically just layering, but instead of layering in smaller and smaller surface areas, it's just layering either on the top or the bottom or in specific places to make these scratches really pop, and it ended up coming out with a really, really nice look. Finally here, you can see me painting that gemstone in the middle of his sword in orangey color. I did do a couple of highlights on this. So I did a nice darkish orange color, and then kind of on the top of the gemstone that's there, and off to the left just a little bit, I did a couple of other layering of lighter and lighter orange. I think I did 2 lighter oranges, 1 little dot of yellow, and then 1 tiny dot of white inside that dot of yellow. And then I did go over this gemstone with a gloss varnish. I did not do a varnish on the rest of the miniature, although eventually I'll probably come back through and do a matte varnish on everything, and then maybe an additional gloss varnish on the gem itself, just to really make it pop and make it look different than the rest of the miniature, which is mostly kind of supposed to be metallic. And so having that gemstone kind of be a little bit more shiny looking, I think really brings a lot to this. So as you can see, the other thing I did was kind of metallic scratches here. But this was a really fun miniature to paint. I really enjoyed it. I thought it came out looking great. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe if you want to join me on my journey as I paint through the Reaper Bones 5 core set. And thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.